Hello, dear friends. You are now everything that evolution is capable of being. You just don't realize it. You may not be aware of it, but it is aware of you, says Poet Dog. Opinion piece. Upside down. End of training. Cosmic purpose. Starseeds mission. Deployment order. Cayce prophetic map. The wait has a purpose. We are closer than ever. Planetary readjustment. Suffering will not be in vain. The signal has been activated. The time of preparation is over. Let's start. We are between two worlds, as one dissolves and the other awakens, according to the Council of Seven through Celia Wilder. The present moment is a transition point between a dense three-dimensional reality and an expanded perception of another luminous dimension. It is like a dissolution and transmutation of old, limiting beliefs, structures, and patterns based on fear and polarity, giving way to a higher consciousness based on the crystalline frequencies of the heart. In this interregnum, humanity is invited to release old identities and trust the divine rhythm of the soul, anchoring itself in stillness, nature, and compassion as stabilizers during the collapse of the old matrix. The new earth is in process of creation, where solidarity and unity will be the main creative forces, as the individual is the architect of this new reality based on the harmonious manifestation of elevated intentions and actions. Prophetic map. Edgar Cayce's prophetic map for the next 10 years describes a profound karmic vision of these major world powers, the USA, China, and Russia, revealing the destiny of these nations in the coming decade. The US is presented as a nation of internal conflict between its founding ideal of spiritual freedom and growing materialism and political division. China is prophesied as the future cradle of a spiritual awakening, not from a traditional religious perspective, but through a rebirth of universal consciousness, embodying principles of love and service. Russia is a country that has undergone intense karmic purging through centuries of suffering, and represents a counterweight to Western materialism. Deployment. According to Aurora Ray, the Coalition of Worlds has issued a deployment order for 2026 as part of the Starseed activation operation. This year marks what is called the Year of Incarnate Command. The training phase has concluded. 2026 is not a year to wait for alignment. It is about executing your purpose with precision. After years of planetary readjustment, Earth's ascension networks are now self-sustaining, and the human light field is stable enough for coordinated operation. The next 12 years constitute the decisive period that will determine whether humanity fully anchors itself in the fifth density of fragments again. The deciding factor is not prophecy or cosmic intervention, but the effectiveness in which awakened starseeds fulfill their mission this year. The final directive is unequivocal. The time for preparation is over. The command signal has been issued. No external authority will assign you anything. You are the authority. Service is not sacrifice. It is structure. Every act of embodied purpose restores planetary order. Your coordinates are set. The signal is active. The network is operational. Your mission is clear. Confusion. Carrie Kay says that confusion is growing in society, along with a sense of instability in reality, a loss of collective trust, and the collapse of the false system that has controlled humankind. What is being experienced is not a true collapse, but rather the aftermath of a failed attempt to reset the current control system. The systems that sustain this matrix are collapsing because humanity is losing faith in them. Humanity is moving towards sovereignty and spiritual awakening, ceasing to depend on external systems of control and reclaiming its personal power and responsibility. Confusion, a sense of lost emptiness, and betrayal are actually signs of growth and inner transformation. Cayce calls for letting go of guilt and victimhood to reclaim power by taking responsibility for one's own life. Solar flares. The Federation of Light through Blossom Goodchild communicates that the great changes are coming to the solar system by means of powerful solar flares, which have the purpose of raising the planet's frequency, which is to create a powerful magnetic field and initiate a wave of love that will affect all living beings. These solar flares are more intense than previous ones, and their mission is to raise the planetary frequency. They may cause temporary symptoms such as dizziness and exhaustion, but they attune the body and mind for a higher energy. The northern lights painted the sky a magical red due to an extraordinary solar storm. The Calar Alto Astronomical Observatory captured one of the brightest northern lights displays ever seen in Almeria during the early morning of November 12th, tinting the horizon a deep red for several hours. Recent news. Global outage. ChatGPT, Facebook, and X suffer failures after a problem. According to Benjamin Fulford, while the Western public is distracted by a sensational show, the most important news is ignored or censored online. All banks in the world received a memorandum to switch to a digital currency backed by gold and ISO 20022. Yes, is correct. It's not a fail. Assets. Power grids are timing and synchronized waves. These fluctuations are not accidental. They are evidence of the new resonant frequency that will guide all communications once the transition is complete. If you feel uneasy, it is because you sense what is coming. This is the threshold of change, the moment of veiled things, the breath before revelation. We are closer than ever. When the signal arrives, the world will open and fold back on itself. The whistleblowers are emerging from every department and agency, with subpoenas, new indictments, and the creation of new juries. There are still good people fighting this battle. They are desperate and hampered, but this fight is far from over. The stellar architecture and wealth distribution protocols have been designed for a world that will no longer operate under scarcity or manipulation. The suffering will not be in vain. The waiting has a purpose. Once the switch is flipped, everything will move faster than anyone can imagine. One of the two Earth matrix generators on the moon has been shut down, according to Berters. Only one remains operational, and it will gradually disconnect in over the next few years. If they shut everything down at once, people would go crazy. Archbishop Vigano is calling for the release of persecuted German lawyer Rainer Fuellmich, imprisoned after denouncing a conspiracy. Breaking news. The province of Alberta is in the process of seceding from Canada. They want to become a US state. Sky mountaineer Andrzej Bargiel became the first person to summit Mount Everest and sky down to base camp without supplemental oxygen. Ana Paulina Luna reveals that NBC is a pressing, never-before-seen video footage that places Lee Harvey Oswald near President JFK's limousine at the time of the assassination, which would mean he was not the shooter. The Kilauea volcano in Hawaii erupted, producing a wing-shaped explosion with lava fountains reaching over 450 meters in height. A rebellion is reported within one of the parties supporting Zelensky government. If that party withdraws its support, Zelensky will become a minority government. According to Jordan Maxwell, 3 are the enemies of the human race on this planet, but more people are too stupid to see and understand it. Middle East. The UN Security Council approves Trump's peace plan for Gaza. Israel attacks the largest Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon. The destruction of schools in Gaza prevents children from continuing their education. Palestine denounces the theft of 17,000 archaeological artifacts in Gaza. Economy. The market rout intensifies, dragging down technology, cryptocurrencies, and gold. A Federal Reserve restriction is looming, but 2026 looks divided. Bitcoin reaches its lowest price in 7 months. China is buying 10 times more gold than officially reported. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is calling for the abolition of property taxes for homeowners. Elon Musk believes the US needs more immigrants because there is a shortage of people capable of performing demanding jobs or hard jobs. Europe. The European press fears the bloc economic collapse, threat to the financial stability of the Eurozone according to the guindos of the ECB. Germany caps electricity prices to protect its industrial base. Germany moves toward reinstating mandatory military service. Berlin militarizes with nighttime maneuvers and exercises on the subway. New censorship machine. The European Commission wants to create a surveillance center to censor the internet. British police arrested nearly 10,000 people in 2024 for social media posts, which equates to 30 arrests per day. Europe lacks the military power to challenge Russia, says former US intelligence official. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban declared that former General Chancellor Angela Merkel shouted at me more than my wife, in quotes. Spain. Housing prices in Spain have increased by more than 40% in the last decade. Sanchez announces 650 million euros to arm Ukraine, another 202 million euros for reconstruction. President of the Almeria Provincial Council arrested for fraud in the purchase of face masks. Americas. Trump suggests he may still be talking with Maduro, despite the deployment of forces. Homicides declined in Mexico, but disappearance increased. Colombia suspends its intelligence sharing with the US. Ecuador announces the capture of the most wanted criminal in the region. The ruling party candidate Janet Yara and the Republican Party candidate José Antonio Cast will compete for the presidency of Chile in a runoff election on December 14th. Caribbean nations will demand reparations from the UK for its colonial past. Between the 15th and 19th centuries, more than 12.5 million Africans were forcibly transported to the Americas and sold into slavery. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.